catching up today with Big Pipes, Lochie Piper, King Fvego.
Hi mate.
Big Pipesy, how are ya?
I'm good, how are you?
Good bro, where are you at?
I'm just at the warehouse, bro.
Sweet, you're at Bennett Screen now?
Yeah.
Legend, I'll roll over bro. Send me the address, just text it to me again please.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you bro, appreciate it.
I'll go later.
Talk to you soon, bye.
One, two, one, two. Wow, that's amazing.
What's up, bro?
Pipes, my man. How are you, brother?
Good, mate.
I'm stoked to have a bit of a yarn with you today, bro, because I guess we've only recently just met each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Through some mutual friends. Big shout out to Crusher from the Wyong-roos. He'll hate that. Yeah, oh, he's not even from there. It's just a little joke that we always teased him growing up. He was a Wyong-roo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sweet, bro. So I don't know. I guess for us to get to know each other, bro, like let's start from beginnings. I know you mentioned you were from the NT.
Yep.
How you came up through a bit of the ranks in footy. That's probably where I want to get cranking. So.
Yeah, so originally from a little town called Catherine in Northern Territory. Yeah, grew up there and I was a little skater boy actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Little skater boy and playing footy on the side. I only started footy in under 13s actually. I was playing soccer from before that.
Yep.
Yeah, cut through some shit before and yeah, ended up picking up a scholarship to Holy Cross and signed with the Tigers at 16. So ended up, they pretty much said you got 2 weeks to come down to Sydney. Yeah, and it just went from there. So went down to Sydney, did my HSC and all that kind of stuff. Was with them for a few years. Had a couple of injuries along the way, which happens in a contact sport. Yeah, what ended up at Manly there, I think 2011 and 12.
Mm-hmm. So how old are you, Bob? So fucking.
I'm 32 this year.
32. So yeah, same age.
Yeah.
Yep, sweet.
90s baby.
90s, yeah. That's it. Yeah, the golden era.
Yeah, left there. I'm pretty sure it was 2012. And just played a bunch of Massey in Sydney.
Yep.
So I think all up I did 9 years in Sydney.
So you were living in the Northern Beaches. You were living in
Borgham Hills.
Okay. Yep.
So I was in Borgham Hills. So it was around there. So I was travelling a fair bit, like with footy and all that kind of stuff, which was pretty cool. And then, like, I hated Sydney, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a rat race. It costs you $400 to walk in the front door. It's ridiculous, man. But yeah, 9 years was enough. Got offered to go up the mountains, so got offered a job in the mines out there. Just played some group 10 footy with Lithgow. Did that, and then that came to a halt when I done a big injury to my knee.
Okay, yeah,
Which
that's the
explains the big scar.
Yeah, big scar you were
Yeah.
cracking there.
So that all happened. Had 3 years off, and my partner at the time, like, we just wanted to. I guess we always liked Newcastle.
Yep.
And long story short, we had the opportunity to move to Newcastle, and we moved while she was 36 weeks pregnant with Olive. So
Olive, your first?
Olive's my first daughter, yeah.
Yep.
So she's 3, and Big Bodie's about to turn 11 months.
Okay, yep.
So yeah, we just said let's go. Newcastle. So we were like, so we were living in Fvego, but like we'd have to come up looking for rentals and stuff like that. So doing all the, it was ridiculous. Like the rental market is out of control. Like it's just a big noise.
Especially in New England. Like, well, I don't know, probably the same everywhere, but
yeah.
always got to
Well, I mean,
offer
the location in Newcastle, you think, and especially with everyone trying to get out of Sydney, just they go to the Central Coast stuff moving up. Excuse me. So yeah, and just done that. Like and then going into Fvego, like I made my first shirts back in 2017, 2018.
Okay, so you've always had that creative, like in the back of your mind, you always sort of knew what you wanted to do in that realm.
Well, it's funny, like I made it because, like you back then, like so Universal Glue and all that, like Stussy was the rage.
Yeah, I remember. I was a Stussy down
and
there.
everyone had it.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't go to a pub or like go for dinner or whatever you were doing without seeing a Stussy shirt, and everyone had the same shit. And then like their sizing is different to, let's say, like what a Filler tee or a Champion tee or G'd up, etc.
Sportswear,
Yeah, so every brand has different sizing, and like me, because I was a bit bigger, a bit broader, I didn't like how any of it sit, so I just started making shit for myself.
Yeah.
And like it's funny, the first 4 shirts I ever made, I still got them in my wardrobe at home. Like they're faded as all hell. It's chalk and cheese from what I'm doing now, which is kind of crazy, but it's just those little things that like, excuse me, that's where I started, you know what I mean? And like that's cool, and like to where I am now, to what it was, like just a drawing on the whiteboard and talking shit, like it still just blows my mind. But yeah, doing all that, I just made it for myself, and then people started going, where'd you get that, and like I didn't really take it too seriously. Like I made a couple of hoodies and like sold out and stuff like that. But yeah, never, like I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I love the design side and the creativity and stuff like that. And then like all code and stuff and all that. And I was just like, oh, I chucked it on the back burner. Like it's always gonna be there and stuff. And then yeah, once I got to Newcastle and like I was with the boys, like Witters, Jacko, Gibbsy and all that, and like, cause we go to coffee at a Sunnyball all the time. And
saw Jacko there this morning.
and like we were just talking, like, wouldn't it be cool to do hats? And I was like, oh, I'll just throw it under my thing, and I ended up making, I think I made like 10 hats at the start, and I said, here you go boys, like this is what we're doing, and they were like, oh, this is so sick. And then I just put the initials of our group chat on the side, and they said SPP. It's on one of the hats on the front there, I'll show you later. And people started going, what's that? And then I just thought, oh, wouldn't this be funny? Like, because I had a couple spare, you get 3 goes while we're down at coffee, 3 chances.
Oh, 3 guesses, yeah.
If you get it right, you get out of the hat. And then it just sort of went from there, and like, I ended up getting like a bunch of hats. I did, I think I had 150 hats and I sold out in 3 hours with no marketing.
Nice.
Just, yeah, I remember I put a post up on Instagram because I made a bunch of different hats, and I said, what would you choose? And I think the Instagram only had like 100 followers back then or something. And yeah, that all just went in within 3 hours. I was just like, holy, this is kind of crazy, maybe I'm onto something.
So that's when you knew, that's when that little thing clicked.
That's when I sort of clicked on, okay, maybe I'm onto something.
Yeah.
But then I put out the pale green tea and the cream tea, and I was like, let's just see if it's whatever. 150 of them, boom's gone in 4 hours. And I was like, okay mate, that's not a fluke. And like just not doing the marketing, doing it through, I always thought word of mouth was a big thing, and everyone does like all these flashy photo shoots and stuff like that. And that's where I was like, old school marketing still works.
Massive.
Because people want to see and touch your shit, but when you hear it from someone else, boy, their stuff's actually really mad, you're going to take someone else's opinion into more consideration. Good or bad, it fluctuates how you feel about it, you know what I mean? And then that's sort of where I rode with it, and it spun me out, and I tried to stay on the back burner a fair bit. Like, so the way after our photo shoots and stuff, the way I tried to portray myself is because I don't want to be the face of the brand.
Yep.
I want the brand to have its own personality and culture.
Yeah, so you're not the identity.
Yeah, and I don't want to be labelled with that. I want the clothes and the every person that buys Fvego is a part of Fvego, and I want them to be the face, if that makes sense. So
the community aspect, I think every good brand has to have that community base.
exactly right. You know what I mean? And like I like the clean tidiness and stuff like that, but we also like to have fun and like that's how I want to portray what Fvego is. And like I could sit there and just be the face and go, I'm a sick cunt.
Check me out.
Yeah, but like that does nothing for me, and that's why I stayed on the back burner for ages. Like I wanted to do that, and I came across as an employee, and it was really cool. Like when I first came out and started dropping stuff, people were like, "Oh, so who owns it?" Like they thought it was Witters, all the boys from Coffee and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I had Mossy in that, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." Like people don't know who it is, and it just kind of went from there. And then when I had to start doing the solo content, I think people started sort of clicking. But even now, like some people will be like, "Who runs that Fvego stuff?" And like that's still like a mad little kick to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't want the limelight. Like, I want, like I said, I want the clothes and what we're about here to
speak for itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
right.
I think that's the first time I met you. But I think on your launch, maybe brand launch day, you come to the beaches afterwards.
Yeah.
Maybe Beery was up.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the first time I'd seen the clothes myself, and I was like, oh sweet. And then like now that I've seen it, I go for coffee every morning at the same places. I see it popping up everywhere. It's just clean. Not like Jacko had one this morning.
Yeah.
That clean branding. I think it's as you said, timeless, classic. It matches in with the way you want it to market, word of mouth as well.
Yeah.
Just old school, bro. So yeah, good stuff on it. Eh?
Oh, appreciate it. It's still very surreal. Like I really struggle. I remember talking to you, and I really struggle with receiving compliments about it. Like obviously, I talk to like my circle and stuff like that, and that's really cool. And like they're ruthless. If I do some shit, they'd be like, "Mate, that's fucking foxy." You know what I mean? So, but yeah, like they've actually liked my stuff, and the big kick for me was when Jacko said, "Hey, do you want to come on and do like this charity stuff for me?" And like that was massive for me, and especially like the cause that it is for him.
Massive.
That was very rewarding. So yeah, like I don't know, it feels very surreal that like it's all well and good that people say, "Oh, you're doing a good job," but like people are buying the stuff.
Yep.
Like that feels very surreal to me to go, "Oh, I did this from a whiteboard." I've gone through a few trials and stuff, and people actually like what I'm doing. Like it's still just a spin out, and like some people have come up to me and go, "We really like what you do," and I'm like, I'm just doing me, but like it's very like I struggle to receive that.
I think it's like a humility thing, right? So like I don't know. There's naysayers, there's doubters, there's people maybe who wouldn't be in your corner, but it's so nice to like you block that out. That's the shit you don't want to hear about. Like I always have a thing: if someone wishes no good for me, I don't want them around me. You know what I mean? Like why would I want like negative people? But to have random people, not just your friends, other people coming up, compliment. Like for me, it's like when I make a good coffee for someone. I feel mad, but old Nana's like, oh, that was a good coffee, love. So it's that same little feeling you get. It's something you put your time, it's like the effort. You know, you're on the whiteboard, you were planning it out. It's like Slim Shady when he was writing his raps and that.
Yeah.
But, you know, like you're proud to put your product there. And by doing it, he's tracking back to the Jacko's golf day. That was all done for it was for a cause for Jacko.
Yeah.
Meant a lot to him. You got to jump on board. Not because you wanted the limelight of the publicity, it's just you got approached to put your brand forward. And there was like brands like Tradie on that day, there was Fireball Whiskey, I believe.
Yeah, Fella.
Like there's some massive brands, man, and you're in with that caliber of people.
Yeah, and that's where it was kind of a spin out for me is Rip Girl as well.
Yeah, Rip Girl, massive.
And that's where it was just like a spin out, like they're well established brands and I'm just this little shit kicker in Newcastle, you know what I mean? So
little boy from the bush, by the
way. So yeah, like it was humbling, but at the same time it was like it was a mad time. Like people were like, "We love your shit."
Yeah.
And that it was It just feels very surreal. Like it hasn't really like fully sunk into me that like I've got something good, and I think that's probably you as a business owner with 7 studios. You don't want to get comfortable.
Correct.
It's
Complacency.
and you can see like it's very easy for people to get caught up in you're doing a good thing, you're doing a good thing, and then you start getting stagnant.
Yep.
The boys have pulled me up on it too. I remember the big one was when we first did our first photo shoot here, and I was like stressing out, like everything that went wrong. We were supposed to do it at the bars.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. Everyone ended up on the piers because it was UFC.
Yeah.
Like
You have it on you?
a bloke pulled it. No, I didn't have. There was no power here. Like there was nothing to give. It was just an empty shell. We were running late. The boys, like I said, the boys were on the piers. A couple of the models pulled out, so I had to find replacements and then try and orchestrate everyone to come in. And like it turned out so sick. Like we had the best time, but it was just so overwhelming. And I was just like when I spoke to Joel, my videographer, and Louis, Marcelo, my photographer, was just there, and I was like, look, this is up to you.
Yeah.
Like,
Put it in your
I
hands.
knew we'd done like all the vision boards and stuff beforehand, but I was just like, I've got to trust them into that, and like I've got the world's worst trust issues, and I was like, this is your world. Like I know how we've prepped and stuff, and it came out so sick. But then,
props to that. I saw that.
Yeah.
Looked good, bro, yeah.
and then after it, like I just gathered the boys, and like I was a bit emotional. I was just like, man, thank you so much. Like it was like just watching it all unfold was just like a massive holy shit moment for me. Is going like, this is really here, and like you look at things like I'm sure you would have done the same thing like with your cafe and what you're doing, but like you picture it in your head, and then when you're actually there, you're like, no way, this is actually happening. It's like a pinch me moment.
Yep.
And that was massive for me. And then, but straight away, the boys were just like, you gotta like embrace this time.
Yeah.
And I'm already thinking, how can I be better? What can I do next? Like what the next step is. And that's, I wish I could be a bit more present on that aspect, but at the same
It's hard,
time,
man. It's a hard thing to do.
yeah. And then that's where I feel like it's easy to get stagnant when you get stuck in that, and you like the high and the emotions is out of control. But thinking of what you can do next to keep going and keep going.
Always.
I don't want to get stuck in what was there. All right, cool, that was mad. I enjoyed it for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But now
Done.
it's going, and
Yeah.
it's sort of just going from that. I just wish I could be more present for maybe a little bit longer, and just go, that's mad.
But I think what you said is exactly right. It's completely natural. Like, you know, I've only, like, my business has been around for 3 or 4 years, call it, cafes a year, my commercial side, and I still never, there's probably people who think, oh, that's great, Chris is doing well, but in my head, I'm not, and I'm always trying to figure out what's next. Like, I was doing a food photo shoot before I got here, and I was making it, and everyone was in the kitchen, it was hectic, and I was that same feeling, I was like stressed out, I was emotional. But I call it like a time lag, right? So the work you're doing now doesn't reflect to you till about 90 days later. So you're always in this 90-day cycle of time lag where you couldn't embrace that then, but 90 days later you go, oh wow, I'm 3 months down the track and I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
but it's
for sure.
down the track because your head's so far forward. I struggle with the same thing, and that complacency. And then some days I do, like, I don't know, you go so hard on one thing, you burn out, you got footy as well, you got life commitments. Consistency is key, I think, when it comes to all of this branding stuff, man. So what would you say is the next, like, so with Fvego, you've got it to a point now, and like, where do you see it, where do you want it to go?
I just want to be like established. I've never really like thought about where I want to go. I really enjoy the design and the creativity side, and see where that goes. Like for me, I still see this as a hobby. You know what I mean? And like I thoroughly enjoy. Like I enjoy sitting there going through the tech packs, doing all the shitty stuff that people would be like, "This sucks."
The grunt work.
Oh yeah, and like
yourself.
people would just be like, "Oh, I want to go in and like I want to make the money and stuff like that." And like I know everyone. I've said this to you before. I know everyone gets in the business to make money and do their own thing, but that's not at the forefront for me. For me, I I love this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And just designing and seeing what like I can come up with and like taking pieces from other things and seeing what works and just and seeing how people react. Like the best high for me is if someone goes, "That's fucking sick," and I made it. I think it's cool, but when you get an outsider's perspective and they're like, "Oh wow," that's kind of like a massive kick for me.
It's your baby. You put this product
Yeah.
into earth, and someone's complimenting your hard work.
Yeah, and like it sort of contradicts me a little bit where like I struggle with the compliments, but at the same
But
time,
that's
like,
learning. That's
yeah,
learning.
it's still really cool being able to like do that. And I know like it's very hard to find clothes that do quality because you look at like I'm not going to name any brands or anything, but sometimes they transition from that quality over quantity to
Yep.
quantity over quality.
Yes.
When the dollar figures start coming in, and I never like money's cool and all, but then you start losing the respect as a brand
Yep.
because people call it selling out.
Keeping brand integrity with what we've
And
got.
that's something I pride myself on is quality. So the longer I want to keep maintaining, like quality control for me is at the forefront of everything.
And you're involved with the, I guess, manufacturers sourcing the quality products.
So yeah, I'm talking to the manufacturers. I do all the designs myself.
Something you taught yourself.
Just fooling around. Like most of my stuff's done on my phone.
Yep.
Play it, and then like being very visual. I sort of know how I want to do it, and then how I can find it. I had a team at Visionize. They helped me with my next range and sort of broke down how you go through swatches and stuff like that, and working with all this different kind of stuff. And that opened my eyes to like a whole new creative side. And I was like, just like a kid in a candy store, man. Like I was just like, this is so sick. And you sit there and you go, okay. It's funny because like people go, oh, why don't you make like a blue shirt? Okay, do you want blue 53? Do you want blue acrylic?
You
blue
got like the
black?
Dulux shades.
Yeah, you're just sitting there and you're like, what type of blues will we? Do you want baby blue, dark blue, navy? Like this, it's crazy. And I remember having a laugh with one of the girls at Visionize, and they're like, because I was like, oh, I want to do like a stonewash black. And they're like, what black? And I was like, oh, like a dark rustic black. And then they pulled out this book, and it was probably about 1.5 inches thick of just black colours. And you just flick in there and you're like, man, it's
But that's what talks to your creative mind. Is like I like what you said. How you thought you loved it, then you saw that even deeper, more monotonous part of
Absolutely.
it, and you went, oh, give me more.
Yeah, it's the craziest experience. Just with all this stuff, I find it's the most frustrating and rewarding thing to be a part of. But it doesn't like. I remember, say you do your normal 9 to 5 job and you're working for someone else, you can just clock off, and like that work's frustrating. But then like when you do this, what is normally frustrating, you're like, okay, cool. It's all part of the journey of what you're doing with it, and you don't see it as it pisses you off. Like it sucks at the time, but at the same time you're like, this is actually fun. Like it's not hard on yourself. Whereas like, say you're working for someone else doing X, Y, Z, you stub your toe or something, or like something goes wrong and you're like, fuck, and you sit on it. With this, I just go like, it's all part of it, and it's not like that's not going to ruin my day.
No, the buck's not like, I'm the same. You know, since going into business with myself, I probably wasn't the best employee. Like I was good, but you know, always sort of what suits me, I guess, in a way.
For sure.
Whereas now I have a different work ethic because the buck stops at me. So if I fuck up, it's all on me, and I hate letting myself down. So it's just made me more, I don't know, as you said, you never really clock off. You're laying there and thinking about the next thing I'm going to market for the cafe. I want to do a lunch menu. Oh, I've got a cleaning run. Like your head just don't stop. You get that head noise, but it's fun head noise. Like it's
for sure.
It's you get to lay there. Some mornings I wake up and the stuff that I achieve from the morning, like I hate it at the time. Like shit, you know you've got to do it. But it gets to 5 p.m. You tick that list off. You hit all them marks, and you go, how good's this?
Yeah, and it's crazy, like being excited to go to work.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And then that's
Massive.
as cliche as it is. Everyone says if you love what you do, it's not classified as work.
So
You know what I mean?
So
Like-
all the cliches I find in, I guess we're at that same age now where all the cliches people told me when I was a young fella, like, you know, I hear them all now and I go, shit, that's what they were talking about.
Yeah,
Part of
you just
maturity, I guess.
compartmentalize it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, that old fuck.
Literally, man. I can remember the exact converse. Like, you know, some of them were just these old truck drivers I used to work with, or you know,
100%.
whatever it was. But they all told me shit. But at the time, I was just a young, stupid kid. Going, I'm still like, it's still the same.
I'm bulletproof.
Yeah, yeah.
I know.
I'm the
everything.
man.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I think that humility grows as you get. You don't think you're not invincible anymore. Like you're probably the same as me. Like stupid kid, man. Throwing yourself out trees, jackass,
we're all
surfing.
dumb.
Yeah, real dumb, being silly young fellas. But I guess pipes, I like where we've been. My last question that I like to finish on. So say there was another young fella. It might not be clothes, it might not be whatever, but someone like a message you'd like to put out to someone out there who's thinking about doing something for themselves, chasing a creative pursuit. Just the greatest piece of advice you would give to someone out there.
I was that kid. It's funny. And this is a big plug to Dane who runs Cultivate.
The recovery place?
Yeah.
So
So I'll
shout out Cultivate Recovery.
Cultivate Recovery.
Yeah.
He said, "What are you gonna lose?" And like the big thing for me was, this is money for my kids. This is blah 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 blah. I always knew how I wanted to do it and stuff like that. And the big thing he said to me was, because he, like we said, I want to spend X amount of dollars. And then it's that fear of the unknown of going, okay, what if I outlay X amount of dollars and it goes wrong? And then you're down that money and he goes, what if you lay X amount of dollars and you're making X amount of dollars per month and you kick yourself because you never went for it?
Yeah, you don't know if you don't
And
know.
he goes, the biggest thing I can tell you is say, fuck it, what's the worst that could happen? You can always make money back. And I was like, oh yeah, and like, I listen to Gary Vee a lot.
Gary Vee's
he
the
says,
man.
He says the same thing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I went and saw him when he came to Australia
Did
and
ya?
stuff. Yeah,
Nah.
unreal.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. You're stopping yourself.
Yep.
And so what I would say is the same thing. Like, fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
What's stop? Like I've had a couple people ask me about these things, and like you just lay it down. People are like, oh, money. Okay, cool. So save your money to do what you want to do. So then what's stopping you? Oh, I don't think I have time. Okay, so no Netflix for an hour.
Yes,
An hour
exactly.
in studying online about shit you want to do. You're an hour better than what you were.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
1% every
Just
day.
time management. And I
Yeah.
said, realistically, what's stopping you? Yourself.
Yep.
And fear. Who gives a fuck what anyone else thinks?
Yeah.
Like, I've learned, I don't care what people think about me, what I'm doing. I'm doing what I love, and I'm going for it. And that's what I reckon, like, another cliche, the first step's always the hardest.
Yeah, right.
The moment you jump in, you're just going.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That trajectory, I love to talk about that trajectory. I love that you said Gary Vee. I've been smashing him like, but don't look backwards, you'll fuck your neck.
Yeah, 100%. And it's always don't look back, always look forward.
Exactly.
Mentality, you know what I mean? And like with that comes like a lot of navigation and what everyone's got their different version of success.
Yeah.
And you got to navigate who's with you for you and like who's in it for a kickback or some shit like that. And like, but that's all part and
That's
parcel
part
of
of
it.
it,
But yeah, going back to what you were saying, I'd just say go for it.
Yep.
Just make sure you plan properly. And if you're serious about it, be serious about it. Don't be on the fence and half-ass it. And chase a dream, man. Like, what's the worst that happens? It fails and you've got to go get another job.
That's it.
You go back to work.
That's it, man.
You gave it a crack. Because like I know, I'd say 40 or 50, but that's just around the corner. But at that age, I want to look back and say, you know what? If it all turned to shit tomorrow, I had a crack at something that I love, and I enjoyed it. Like I got to experience some shit that I never thought I would have experienced through what's happened. But I gave it a shot. I don't want to die wondering.
Yeah, don't die wondering. That's a good one. Yeah.
And or like some people, I get it. Some people enjoy the 9 to 5. Like they love that.
Yep.
Me, not, I can't. And then now that I've got a taste of working for myself, I really struggle
Yeah.
trying to work for someone else.
I
But I
bet.
know everyone works with, like in different aspects.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's all part of it. But yeah, like I just say go for it, man. Have a plan, stick to it, and find a way to make it work. You know what I mean? Like don't die wondering.
Don't die wondering, bro. They're the part
That's
of
probably
it.
the biggest thing I'd say. Because you're going to kick yourself when you sit there and you go, oh no, it was too late.
Yeah.
And you're doing the whole what if game.
With all the armchair heroes that you hear, all had like when I was a young fella, I had this idea of doing this. It never gets
Well,
done.
that's it was funny when we did a podcast with a couple of the boys, and the tall poppy syndrome in Australia is
massive,
ridiculous.
massive, man.
But then those same people, when you go and do it, bumps and proud of you.
Yeah, that's
You know
right.
what I mean? Like it's crazy.
First they ask why, like why are you doing this? What's going on? Then they ask, oh, how'd you do that? Such a good job. It's the why and the how. And people, back to the tall poppy. That's a good one. Just before we part off, people want to see you do good, but not too good, because then it's a deflection of what is not going on.
It hurts other people's egos.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a massive thing. I just think, lost friends, gained friends. It's all part of life and growing up.
100%.
I wish well for anybody around me. And back to what I said, I don't want people around me that don't wish me well. So as you get older, you get more selective with your circles. Your groups become smaller. And as you said, we're 30, 31, 32, coming up there. I feel like 35. You've sort of got to dig your heels into that 35, 40.
Going off what you're saying as well too, like you don't need the drama.
Yeah.
There's enough in your day to day, and like everyone's going through something.
We've all got external pressures. Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't need that.
Yeah.
And if it's weighing you down more than it should, sometimes, and that's what I've noticed. Sometimes you've got to have those hard conversations and go, hey, look, I'm sorry, but I'm going this way, you're going that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's life. Like as cutthroat as it is, sometimes you got to have those tough conversations. They fucking suck.
Yeah, they suck. Yeah.
They suck. But it's not ill intent or anything like that. It's just I don't have the time.
Looking out for yourself.
Yeah, there comes a time where you got to put yourself forward, and I used to be a big people pleaser, and you can't please everyone.
No.
You know what I mean?
And if you try,
If you try, you just you
Well,
just
it's a detriment on you if you try, because then you constantly feel like you're letting people down. In reality, they're sucking the life out of you.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sweet, bro. Well, anything you want to plug out before we roll out?
I cringe at this stuff.
Nah, do it. Plug it.
So our second range is coming soon. Fvego.com.au. Stay tuned for the updates. We'll see you soon.
Love it. Peace, guys. Thank you.
Later.